It began like any other dawn in one of the world's most demanding military training facilities. Before the first eager recruit, before the seasoned instructors arrived, he was already there, a silent figure, hood perpetually up, pushing a mop across the vast, sterile expanse of the gym floor. He moved with a practiced, almost invisible efficiency. His name wasn't known. On the official duty roster, he was simply listed as Maintenance Civilian Contractor. Young, brash SEAL candidates barely registered his presence, dismissing him as just another background fixture. They would joke, sometimes, about his quietness, his averted gaze, his insistence on the hood, even indoors, even in the suffocating summer heat. No one truly paid him any mind. Until one morning, a young SEAL candidate named Dawson bent to tie his bootlace and froze. Just behind the man's ear, under the ragged edge of a faded collar, was a tattoo. An old mark, nearly washed out by time and sun, but unmistakable. It was a kind of symbol only one group of men ever truly owned, and only after surviving something no one dared to speak of. Welcome to the human stories. Before we delve into this narrative of silence, unrecognized valor, and profound respect, tell us in the comments where you are watching from today. And if you believe that true heroes don't always wear a uniform, hit that subscribe button and help us ensure their quiet legacies are never forgotten. The SEAL compound gym wasn't like a normal gym. It was sacred. Every man who stepped through its doors knew that iron meant pain, and pain was a currency of transformation. Yet, every single day, before the clang of steel plates and the grunts of exertion took over, he was there, mopping, sweeping, restocking towels. Most of the younger recruits didn't even truly see him. But some of the older instructors, men who had seen battlefields and pushed limits, had started to notice a few strange things about the janitor. The way he folded towels, each one precise, tight. The way he stacked weights, always balanced by weight, never just size. The way his eyes, though always low, would linger on the new guys in the mirror, never staring, just observing, like he was scanning. He didn't wear headphones, never had a phone on him. And despite moving with the slow, deliberate gait of a man burdened by age, there was something undeniably off. His knees didn't crack when he crouched low. His hands didn't shake. And when he picked up a 45-pound barbell, he did it with a grip that hadn't softened in decades. Recruits, in their youthful arrogance, would sometimes joke that he was probably some burnout or reject. But one of the older instructors, a former team leader named Mason, had shut that down with a glance. The tattoo Dawson saw was barely visible under the collar line. It wasn't a biker symbol. It wasn't tribal. It was military, very specific, a trident piercing a skull. The kind worn only by SEALs who had completed Tier 1 black missions, missions that weren't even acknowledged on paper. The kind of ink no one outside those ops would ever have or dare to wear. Dawson didn't say anything at first. He just watched as the janitor straightened, adjusted his hood, and walked away, silent as always, mop bucket trailing behind him like nothing had happened. But from that moment on, Dawson couldn't stop wondering, and neither could the rest of the compound. Dawson looked it up that night, alone in his bunk, scrolling through forums he wasn't supposed to know about. Most of it was garbage, but some of the images matched. Not exactly, but close enough. Trident, skull, covert. The next morning, Dawson kept his eye on the janitor. He wasn't alone. Others had noticed the shift. The instructors started hesitating around him. The officers didn't rush him. And Mason, the former SEAL-turned-trainer, watched him differently now. Not cautiously, not suspiciously, more like someone measuring distance between who they are and who they once served with. Someone finally asked a question. It was Grant, a big guy from Texas, who had already washed out once and come back meaner. He made the mistake of calling out, half joking, "Hey, old man, you ever do more than clean sweat off the floor?" The gym went quiet. The janitor didn't tang, didn't blink, just kept mopping a blood-stained corner of the mat. Grant chuckled awkwardly. "Guess not." And then Mason walked over to him. No yelling, no threats. He just leaned in and whispered, "If you want to finish this program, I'd shut up and show some damn respect." That changed everything. Grant didn't say another word for the rest of the day. Word spread quickly after that. Quietly, some started calling him the Ghost. Others just referred to him as Sir without knowing why. He never responded to any of it. But his presence changed. He was still silent, still early, still invisible by routine. But now people noticed. He moved like he was mapping the room. Eyes always tracking exits, weaknesses, posture. Some said he knew who was going to wash out before the instructors did. And then one afternoon, something happened that no one could ignore. The fire alarm went off during a weight circuit, a false trigger, a tech malfunction. But per protocol, the gym was evacuated. Most recruits jogged out. Some instructors followed. But one trainee, Simmons, collapsed midway out. An old knee injury, worsened by dehydration, locked up completely. Two guys went back in but froze near the entrance as smoke from the faulty wires began to cloud the hallway. It wasn't dangerous yet, but it would have taken a medic team at least 5 minutes to respond. It took the janitor 30 seconds. He walked straight into the smoke. No hesitation, no gear, just a towel wrapped around his mouth. He carried Simmons out on his back. Not a drag, not a struggle. A clean, perfect fireman's carry. Simmons was 215 pounds. The janitor didn't grunt once. When he emerged, eyes red but steady, he laid Simmons gently on the mat and stepped back without a word. The fire chief arrived moments later. They cleared the building. All safe, all fine. No one talked about it. No official report mentioned his name, but everyone saw it. The precision, the calm, the reflex. Later that evening, as Dawson walked past the janitor's cot, he noticed something new. A small patch sewn inside the front pocket, barely visible. Black thread on black fabric. Letters faded but clear if you looked close enough. ST6. SEAL Team 6. The kind of unit that doesn't confirm its members. The kind that doesn't leave paper trails. The kind that disappears men when they retire, if they retire. And suddenly everything made sense. The next morning, everything felt different. Not because anyone said anything, but because no one did. There were no jokes, no half glances, no questions whispered in locker corners, just a quiet shift in energy. The janitor still came in at the same hour, still swept the same stretch of rubber flooring. But now people stepped aside when he passed, not out of fear, but out of something heavier, respect. The kind you don't ask for, the kind you earn before anyone ever sees it. Mason, who had been quiet since the fire alarm incident, finally approached the supply closet where the janitor usually disappeared for breaks. He knocked once, opened the door, and stepped inside. The janitor was sitting on an overturned bucket, drinking black coffee from a dented thermos. He looked up slowly, eyes calm, unreadable. Mason didn't sit. He just stood there a moment, then spoke. "I was in Kandahar, 07 to 08. You were in that unit, weren't you?" The janitor didn't answer. Mason nodded once, like that silence was all the confirmation he needed. There was a story, he continued. A black site outside Helmand. Rescue up. Zero intel. No air support. 2 men went in. Only 1 came out. Mason took a breath. "Was that you?" A pause. Then finally the janitor spoke, calm, low. "You shouldn't ask questions you don't want answered." Mason didn't smile. "That's what I thought." He turned to leave, but paused at the door. "They think they're learning discipline in that gym. But you're teaching them something else. Something none of us can put on a whiteboard." The janitor looked down at his boots. "They'll need it if they ever see what I've seen." And just like that, Mason was gone. Word didn't spread, not out loud. But something changed in the days that followed. One morning, a group of instructors arrived to find the janitor's locker door slightly open. Inside was a folded American flag, a single pair of desert boots, and the old Navy Challenge coin resting on top of a worn name patch. The name said Hayes. No first name, no rank, just 5 faded letters. That afternoon, Dawson gathered enough courage to walk over while Hayes was coiling a battle rope. "Sir," he said quietly, "if you were really one of them, why are you here?" Hayes didn't stop coiling. He just answered, "Because this is where they need me." Dawson hesitated. Why not tell anyone? Hayes finally looked him in the eye. "The day you need to tell people who you are is the day you've already forgotten." Then he stood up, wiped his hands on a rag, and walked away. Dawson never asked again. From that day forward, no one called him the janitor anymore. Not out loud. He was still listed that way in the roster, still punching on the civilian time card, still signed every equipment request with a name no one dared repeat without lowering their voice. But around the compound, in the minds of every recruit and instructor who had caught even a glimpse of the tattoo on his neck or the silence in his stare, he was something else entirely. Hayes became part of the air, a quiet presence who moved through the gym like a ghost with purpose. Never demanding anything, never interfering, but somehow always watching. Recruits began training harder when he was around. They stopped complaining about cold showers, about sore knees, about not making the cut. No one told them to. They just did, because in the presence of a man who had nothing to prove and everything to carry, their excuses died quietly. One night after lights out, Dawson pulled aside one of the new candidates and said, "If you ever see him watching you, don't try to impress him. Just don't screw up." The kid didn't understand yet, but he would. Mason, meanwhile, never brought it up again. Once during a break, he left a folded note inside Hayes' supply cart. No signature, just 3 words, "You're still serving." Hayes never mentioned it. But the next morning the battle ropes were coiled tighter than usual, and the squat racks had already been disinfected before anyone arrived. The compound senior staff never formally acknowledged what they suspected. No background check had turned up a military record. No Navy file matched a man with that face. But those who knew how special operations really worked understood that the most effective warriors were often the ones who didn't leave paperwork behind. One afternoon, a visiting commander from Coronado recognized him. He was walking past the open gym doors when he stopped, stared, then whispered to Mason, "You have no idea who that is, do you?" Mason replied without looking, "No, but I know exactly what he is." The commander didn't ask more. He just nodded and walked away. The gym kept running. Recruits kept sweating. Instructors kept shouting. But every so often, when someone dropped a barbell without control or slammed a locker door too loudly or spoke out of turn, Hayes would appear in the corner of their eye, just a second too early, just enough to make them sit up straighter. And sometimes, in the rare quiet moments before sunrise, he'd stop beside the mirror, lower his hood, and look at the face staring back. The tattoo on his neck, once hidden, now faded with time and sweat, still spoke louder than any salute ever could. He never told anyone his story. He never revealed his rank, his missions, or the names of the men who didn't come home. He just kept mopping the mats, coiling the ropes, scrubbing the blood from the tiles, until every recruit who passed through that gym understood that legends don't always stand on podiums. Sometimes they push mop buckets at 4 a.m., silently making sure that the next generation knows exactly what it means to serve. He never wore a uniform, never gave orders, never asked for thanks. He simply showed up early, quiet, unnoticed, and did the work no one else thought mattered. But behind that mop and beneath that hood was a story no one could imagine, and a past that still stood watch over a place built for the strongest. Because sometimes the men who've seen the worst don't tell you what they did. They show you how to carry it. So now I ask you, have you ever crossed paths with someone like him? Someone the world overlooked until a detail, a gesture, a glance revealed the weight they were silently carrying? Share their name in the comments. Tell us what they taught you. Because here on the Human Stories, we honor the ones who don't ask for recognition, only for respect. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, share it, subscribe. Help us keep alive the quiet power of those who never stopped serving, even when the world stopped watching. And next time you pass by someone sweeping a floor, look closer.